World War II began. Pearl Harbor was attacked, and my brother Gene had already gone to the Air Corps, and he was in the war. And my two brothers joined the Army, and I wanted to be somewhere in the Army. So I tried to get into the Navy, but I had an ear that could not pass inspection. My hearing could not pass inspection. So I saw, during that year, while I was working, I saw an ad from the Signal Corps, the U.S. Signal Corps, asking for people to apply who had English as a major and had some foreign languages, and I applied, and they took me. And I went to Washington, D.C. all by myself on the train. Somebody took me, I guess, to Peoria or Bloomington to the train.
Now, before you got to that point, all of this war was in the air.
We'd already war.
What was your feeling at that point about the world and safety and security and yourself?
Terrible. It just meant complete fear, because to us, peace was over here and war was over here, and it would just be utter chaos. And we thought that we would be invaded. We really were afraid that we would be invaded, and there was no question.
By who?
By the enemy, Japan and Germany. But even though we were in the center of the continent, we knew that if they invaded either coast, we would be at risk. So there was hardly any question about support of the war. There were some people who were conscientious objectors and just would not fight, and they did other things, but no one was against the war. I mean, this was just protection. We didn't invade anyone.
Do you remember exactly what happened when Pearl Harbor was attacked?
Yes, I do. I remember I was upstairs in the home where I was living, going to library school, and I was studying in front of a window, at a desk in front of a window. Outside, next door, there was a fraternity house, and the boys were out playing football. And all of a sudden, there was a terrible shriek and yelling and chaos and so forth. And we knew that something had happened, and my friend and I, other students and I, went downstairs to ask Mr. Ridge. He was the man who owned the home where we were boarding, and asked him what it was, and he told us that Pearl Harbor had been invaded. That was on Sunday, the 14th, December 7th, yes, I've already forgotten. It's December 7th, 1941. So we were frightened. We were really frightened. And then the next day, we went to the gym and heard President Roosevelt declare that we were now at war. And so it was total. That's all anybody talked about. It was just really nothing like this war, that people are questioning things. And we didn't have television. You couldn't see anything happening. You had to listen. So I worked for the Signal Corps. I worked as a cryptographer. It was secret. It was a small part of the messages that were being sent.
Did you ever see any of the original messages and know what language they were in?
No. Things like that were all broken down into very small parts. No, but
what were some of the rules that you had to obey during the time of war?
Being quiet and not telling people what you did. We were just supposed to. They didn't want anybody to know that was an army post. It was for Signal Corps. It was just an army post. It was just an ordinary army post. It was a girls' school that had been taken over, and they built barracks all over. And the school part was the administration, and that was interesting. And it was working around soldiers and enlisted people and officers. But the people I was working directly with were other people who were mostly teachers, professional people, and mostly women. But after hours, we were on our own, and we'd always go into Washington. We could go in the bus. It was quick. Nobody had cars. We didn't anyway. And
Was Washington at that time bustling, exciting area?
oh yes,
Like
oh,
you were-
soldiers galore, and we could go to USO dances. We'd go to USO dances, and we went to a church, a couple of churches we went to. After my brother was considered missing, we always were trying to find out whether he might have been rescued, and my grandfather was always trying to find out, and he called his congressman, and there were always people trying to find out. We were hoping that he would be, but it wasn't until after the war that they discovered that somebody had seen the plane go down in flames, so he was considered killed.
What about the newspapers? What sort of news did you get from the front lines?
Oh, we got bad news. We got bad, and people, we didn't have television, of course. We were discussing it always, and there were some people that I worked with who were married or engaged to people who were in some of the battles, and we heard about it from different places. We had a feeling that it was up to us to do something, and we'd hear bad news and things that were going on, and we heard about D-Day after it had happened, and that was very scary. Then yes, I remember then World War II was, Germany, the Axis was beaten, and I remember Eisenhower came back, and we were let out we were given a holiday so that we could go down and see him in the parade. And I remember him riding, and looked like a snappy young man, and not young, but younger than later, in this little Eisenhower jacket that became popular, the short one. I remember his riding in that, and riding across the bridge. Then Japan, when Japan was bombed, I happened to be home in Eureka because my brother Paul had been assigned. He was a tail gunner in some kind of a plane, and I was given leave to come home. You had to have priority to get any kind of either come home in the plane, or that was my first airplane ride. I came home, and we were because he was going to be going over, and we were, I think it was, we were still at home, and the war was over. So we went back on the train together, he went to Washington and went on to Florida, and I went, so there was much elation. Everybody was jumping and dancing and everything, and that was very exciting.